into the Gaming Discourse. I am Tyler Frater alongside Richard De La Cruz, who is not here today, and Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Hello.
It is June 17th, 2021. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, where we post videos. Working on a few new videos right now, including a game that I'll be talking about here in a second. And yeah, so Rich is not here, which means it's just two brothers.
Oh boy.
Two brothers. And they have a strong bond.
You don't want to know about that.
You don't want to know about that. Lots to get into today. We'll be covering, we'll be talking E3 trailers and stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not a big, watch E3 guy anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the trailers because it's cool to see all the different games and stuff. But I'd rather wait until everything is out and then go back and
just review everything.
And watch the trailers. Yeah. I don't know. I think shows have probably gotten better.
Yeah.
Going all digital. I remember, and this is, no offense to Pele, but I remember there was a year, it was like 2014 or something, when Electronic Arts brought out Pele and one of their stuffy execs, and it was just the most boring conversation on stage. Or the I think this was 2011 I think it was for Madden 11, and they brought out a couple NFL players. And it was Clay Matthews and Ray Lewis, and they were all in their uniforms, and they looked super sweaty. Which meant backstage they oiled up, put on their uniforms, and walked out. And I remember someone asked Clay Matthews if the Packers had just won the Super Bowl, if that was going to be a dynasty, and Clay Matthews was like, absolutely. Another
EA one I remember is they were talking about Madden. They go, now Madden, and then the sign said, who? Just one guy in the background. yes.
So I'm not a big and I've kind of gotten over the whole E3 thing.
Yeah.
Or when they showed a car. That was back in the bad days of Xbox press conferences. That was back the transition between, we have a system for people that don't want to play online. It's called Xbox 360. And then between there, Don Matrick and Phil Spencer, there's a transition period. And in there somewhere is the time when they brought a Formula One car on stage, and it's oh cool, the car.
Yeah.
I'm those are neat. I don't know. So yeah, I'm sort of past E3.
That was Xbox's. Let's have them in a different tent and walk them over to the event. E3 for Sony.
I forgot about that. Sony really did try to do something different there, didn't they? That was...
Now, props for them to try to do something different, but they executed that very poorly.
Yes, and there was tons of technical problems.
Yeah.
That was one of Sean Lyden's final E3s. Was they went into the tent.
It was his last one.
Was it his last one?
I think it was his last one.
I don't remember. But it was weird because if I remember correctly, the previous E3s that Sony had done had all been on a stage.
Yeah. They were all clean.
Relatively clean, relatively simple. There wasn't a whole lot of, we at EA believe in empowering players to perform the best games on the best systems and blah, 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 corporate.
It was game. Sean Lane for a second. Game.
Yeah.
Sean Lane. Game.
I remember the God of War reveal and stuff like that. Yeah, with that one, that was Last of Us 2.
And Ghost
and then Ghost of Tsushima. And
I think that was his last one.
Yeah, I think so. And they took the press from the tent to the theater.
Yeah.
And the guy playing the wind flute, I don't know what the instrument is called, wind flute, I think. Apparently I've looked him up now since it's been a couple years
and he's
now.
World renowned.
He's one of the best. I don't know, certifications. I don't know how these things work. You'd probably know more than I do when it comes to people that play instruments and learn a craft with an instrument. The best cello player in the world. I don't know how you know who the best cello player in the world is, but I'm sure there's systems to determine that between orchestras and whatnot. Anyway, this guy that played the wind flute was apparently like one of the best
Yeah.
wind flute players. Yeah, exactly. In the world. Speaking of the NFL, he was like the Aaron Rodgers of wind flute players at the time. But anyway, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, okay, we'll go in there. Anyway, okay. Let's. Unless you want to share more thoughts on electronic or E3?
Well, I'm just glad that they're transitioning more towards just get it all done out of the way as quick as, or not as quick as they can, but just in their own instances. Because it feels weird saying it, but like the quote unquote commercialism of like E3, like the late like mid 2000 E3 into the 20 teens. Like, it got real, just, like, corporate.
Oh, it got real bad.
Yeah, it got really bad.
And like, a lot of I can't speak to, I don't know when the first E3 was. This is what we have Richard here for.
Yeah.
Because he'd know at the top of his head, 1984. You know,
back in 1436.
Yeah, exactly. It was a Pope Benedict II at the time. Sent half the dudes out on a crusade, the other half
to
announcing the new PlayStation exclusive. No, but I don't, I think it used to be a lot more like an actual press conference back in the day, because you had to have an event, because that was before the internet and stuff. We're talking pre-2000s.
And that stuff all gets a pass because they were getting their footing and everything. They were trying to figure out what to do with it. And then they started to get good. And then they hit their, their honeymoon period. And then it just nosedive in quality. It just works. It just
Little
works.
moments like that.
Yeah. And then it's starting to make a rise back, I'd say.
It depends.
I mean, it's starting to make a rise back because it's less E3 and more just games being released.
Well, let's do this. Let's put a pin in that. Let's talk about what we've been playing.
Yeah.
We'll circle back around when we actually talk about E3. So you, sir, go ahead.
So I haven't been playing a lot because I've been having a lot of issues with my computer.
That's no fun. I'm sorry.
Yep, it happens. I just need to,
bash it in the face.
Yeah, I just need to wipe my hard drives and
It's
just
like
reinstall everything.
That scene in The Longest Day when there's like a universal carrier that's stuck on the beach, and one of the British colonels is like, my grandpappy used to say, if something mechanical doesn't work, give it a good bang, and he hits it with his cane.
Percussive maintenance, yep.
Yeah, which I don't know why. I always love that scene. Anyway, continue, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I really haven't played anything. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, that was simple.
I've gotten maybe 45 minutes to an hour of gameplay in the past week.
Of what game?
0 or
0 Hour.
Yeah, 0 Hour.
You're really getting into tactical shooters, huh?
Yeah.
Clearing corners and keeping shotguns for close encounters.
So it's funny you say that, because like I've gone through a whole bunch of them doing like the super like high speed low drag tactical, and then I just got tired of that, and I literally ran through one of the levels of just pop 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 pop, just going through, just clearing guys.
Yeah,
just going arcade shooter on it, and it worked for a bit until I walked into a room. There was like 5 guys. And I just got mowed down.
That makes me sad when a tactical shooter, because I feel like tactical shooters shouldn't be able to be played like that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have to check my corners and be safe and tactical.
It was more of the fact that where the enemies spawned and where they were moving, I got lucky. But I walked into a room and it was straight up RoboCop. They just all looked at me and I was just a pulpy mess at the end of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Alrighty then. I'll get into what I've been playing. So I played a little bit more of Project Wingman. Mm-hmm. I do think I've been experimenting more with like settings and stuff. I definitely feel like it's a game, more of a game thing than my PC settings thing, which if you haven't been keeping up with my Project Wingman saga, I've been trying to play in VR. It's a Ace Combat game, but the performance hasn't been where I've wanted it to be. So I've been tweaking the settings and stuff, and the settings on my index and the settings on the settings in the game itself, and trying to find like that sweet spot. And I think it's just a game that's not all that well optimized for VR. Partially, one of the reasons is because it never seems to set correctly. It never seems to center correctly. I'm constantly having to center it. Mm-hmm. If you click the right stick down, it'll center the camera. But even then, I have to adjust my chair a bit to align myself with the cockpit. Because even when it automatically sets, it doesn't actually automatically set. So I need either to keep tweaking or just deal with it. But I played through the first mission again with an upgraded jet, and that was actually a lot of fun. One of the problems, though, I'm not sure I like about the game doesn't have checkpoints.
Yeah.
So the idea is you get one chance to complete a mission.
One opportunity.
And that, yeah, one shot, mom spaghetti. Yeah. So you get one chance to do a mission, and if you fail, you restart the entire mission. And missions aren't super long, but that still sucks if you die. Yeah. I don't think it's that big of an issue thus far. Anyway, but what that does is it means that certain weapons are
less viable
because they're more of a risk to use. Mm-hmm. So you can unlock rocket pods, right? Air-to-ground rocket pods that you can shoot tanks or whatever, ground targets, right, with. So, but if you decide to use these rocket pods, I mean, you're a couple 100 feet off the ground, and when you launch these rockets, they fly straight. They don't lock on. So you have rockets. They're dumb rockets. They're dumb fire and forget, right? Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's what fire and forget may be something where it doesn't matter. Anyway, you have to point at the things you want to shoot at, right? So you're aiming at the ground in the instance that you shoot these rockets. So if, but the problem is all the jets come with standard missiles, and they come with like 100 standard missiles. It's a nice combat game. So standard missiles lock to ground targets as well. Yeah. So why don't I just, and there's little to no threat with a ground missile or with a standard missile, because I can lock while I'm way up in the air flying straight, and they'll lock to the target and drop. So I think that's sort of one of the drawbacks, but the thing is the rockets are funner to use, right? Yeah. Because I have to fly toward the ground and then pull up at the last second. So they're more fun, but the risk reward doesn't seem to be there, because the risk is I have to restart the entire level, which is not fun. So anyway, I'll have to play a little bit more to decide there. The other game that I've been playing is Claire de Lune. I'm not sure.
By Debussy?
What? No, I'm not sure what you said.
By Debussy, the composer. Claire de Lune. It's a very famous orchestral song.
Is it? I'd have to hear it.
I guarantee you've heard it. I can't, because it's the melody is too pure. I am too tainted to try to attempt it. Okay. We'll play it afterwards.
It's not the 2001: A Space Odyssey, is no. That one? No. Oh, okay. Doesn't matter. Anyway. Well,
I know you've heard it though.
I probably have. Yeah. It's a game. It's a puzzle game. Mm-hmm. It's made by, I'm not sure who specifically, but there are people on the team that made Portal. So it has some Portal inspirations. Okay. It's a puzzle game where you have thus far I'm only about an hour and a half in, so I'm not super far into the game. But you have a gun that shoots like the first thing you get is a cube, and you use this cube to hop on top of the cube and then hop on top of things. The other thing you get is a trampoline, so you shoot it on the ground, and this little like neon trampoline appears, and you step on it and it launches you into the sky. So very early on in the game, but it's a sci-fi game about a father-daughter, and the daughter, they crash land on a planet, and the daughter takes an escape pod out of the ship and crash lands, and the father survives the crash, and he has to traverse the world and go save his daughter. So very early on. The game doesn't come out for another month, which is surprising, because generally review copies, you're not getting them 2 weeks, 1 week before the launch. Maybe you're not getting them months before launch. Yeah. And a lot of games aren't finished. A lot of games have those, up to the last minute gigantic updates or whatever. That
some games just release buggy to hell.
Yeah, some of these cyber games, they're a bunch of punks. You know, they release 2,077 times, and
every single one is bugged.
And every single one is bugged. But anyway, so I think it's about a month out of launch. I'm not sure if there's other ways to get it, but I was offered a review copy, so I'm reviewing it. And there's apparently no embargoes. I'm not going to get into the technical stuff. Anyway, but so far I'm really enjoying it. And I'll have to play a little bit more to dig into the story and see how the puzzle mechanics develop, to see if they really develop to something substantial. Yeah. But it's been described to me as Portal meets Soma meets Talos Principle, which is a lot of that's a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's yeah, you're really picking things off the shelf there.
Do you also want to talk about the mail?
there's just like a lot there. It's like Game of Thrones meets freaking Apollo 13 meets Sense and Sensibility. It's like, okay, wait a second.
Obscure like philosophy journal.
It's like, hold on, what are we doing here? Anyway, but those are all things I like. Yeah. So, if it's a mashup of those things, I'll probably be fine with it.
Well, I mean, you also got to think like there's like one classic example of two great things that turn into one terrible thing, which is fruit, really good, cake, really good, fruit cake, nasty crap.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true. So yeah, maybe I don't know. But I'll have to play a little bit more. But
you can't have too much of a good thing.
Thus far, it's enjoyable. It's good, and it runs. It's on its own engine. I think it's a brand new engine called the Immortal engine. And it's very vibrant, very colorful. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll just have to play more of it to see if these puzzle mechanics really sort of develop. And that's the exciting thing about a puzzle game is when you get the few basic mechanics down, and then you're 5 hours later,
with those mechanics,
and the mechanics just build and build and build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when things get really, really fun.
I'm trying to remember the name of it was a it's hard to describe. It's a non-linear puzzle game. Like you have to like literally change how you look at some of the obstacles. Not the one where it's like actually like getting close to a wall with an object so it gets bigger, but it was you had like it was like in a white void and there's hallways.
White void and hallways.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking about Superliminal?
No, not Superliminal.
Yeah, I'm not coming up a blank.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff like oh shoot, I'm coming up total blank now. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But Are you talking about the game where it's a white? It's like there's black and white, and when you flip the screen, everything that's white turns or your character turns black, and then you can traverse black areas. And then you flip it again. Your character, it's like a cartoony character, turns white, and you can go through the white areas, stuff like that.
No. I'm looking. Antechamber.
Oh, Antechamber. Okay. Yeah, that one was like, that's like a bunch of really weird puzzles back to back.
But like it has the same thing where you get like 5 mechanics, and it's like, all right, we're going to throw everything out the wall, and you just have to use these 5 mechanics to figure it out.
Yes. Never beat that, but I got pretty far.
I don't think anyone's ever beat it.
Wait, really?
No.
I was going to say.
Can you really beat philosophy?
Okay, all right.
We want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this episode. They have been silently supporting us since the beginning, and we felt it was time to give them some love. The like and share buttons have been at our side since episode 1 of the podcast, and they can be found right beneath this episode. Please give them a click, it helps us greatly. If you are feeling lucky, click the bell icon to enter for a notification anytime we post new content. You may be surprised by what you get.
Moving on. So the first story we're going to talk about is a pretty heavy one. Cecilia D'Anastasio at Wired, but it's very, very good. Wrote a piece about Roblox and how fascists have been using Roblox to recruit. It's sort of a very broad story with 2 thought lanes in it. So it's kind of difficult to summarize, but we'll do our best here. So the first lane is a specific story about a specific player. Mm-hmm. They're using pseudonyms in this story called Ferguson, who discusses their history in Roblox. And then the second lane of the story, broadly speaking, is about online radicalization in games and lines between historical recreation and roleplay, and when things get too far and become advocacy, and then obviously when it becomes something really, really bad like recruitment or extremism, what have you. So the short of Ferguson's story, and we'll link it in the description because it really is worth a read, and I can't summarize everything. But the short of Ferguson's story is that about 10 years ago, he joined a group led by a player named Malcolm. Their group had strict rules, and Malcolm, if not at least in-game, had bigoted alt-right political leanings, right, in-game. So lots of sort of edgelordy jokes about all kinds of things you can imagine. And this sort of snowballed into a lot of roleplay that included World War II Nazi roleplay. They built what was apparently a famous Rome server or something in Roblox. I don't know how Roblox works, so I'm saying server, like a Minecraft server. And like if one person makes it, it's the only place that exists is that person's thing. Anyway, they recreated ancient Rome, and they had a really strict social caste system and stuff like that. So it's this one story of this one player's experience with an online group that dabbles in what starts as sort of edgy jokes and whatnot, but develops into this big sphere of no one really knows if anyone else is joking, but some people definitely seem serious about some of their convictions. Anyway, so I wanted to read a few pieces here from the story directly. Quote, in the broadest sense, the qualities associated with gamers, young, white, male, middle-class-ish outsider, overlap with the qualities associated with people who might be candidates for radicalization. Most of the nearly 3 billion people who play games don't fit that stereotype. The word gamer summons these qualities because this was the consumer class that corporations like Nintendo marketed to. Over the decades, that consumer class has become a passionate, even obsessive cultural faction. In 2014, with the Gamergate controversy, right-wing provocateurs, thank you, Connor, spurred it on, seeing in the frustrated male stereotype a chance to transform resentment into cultural power. Now, Ferguson has told his story, or their story, the gender wasn't revealed as far as I remember, as a way of penitence, as a way to say, hey, this sort of happened to me, got in some bad groups, and now I've tried to create groups that sort of counter that, but this is how jokes and things like that can snowball into wider cultural issues that are much more serious. And so I thought that was interesting. Julia Ebner, a counterterrorism expert with the United Nations, whose work includes going undercover in online and offline alt-right groups, told Wired she does not believe video games are radicalizing people on a large scale, but she has seen extremists use gamification or video games as a recruitment method. Ebner told Wired, quote, it's often not really clear to the people who are being recruited that they're actually what they're actually recruited into. There is a big loneliness issue in parts of the gaming community, and there's also a certain desire for excitement, for entertainment. End quote. So I thought a lot of the stuff in this story was really interesting.
Yes.
And I'll let you go ahead and go first because you seem like.
So right out of the gate, there's 3 things I know about video games. Is 1, cowboy games don't sell. People don't want to play single player games, and video games cause violence. All 3 of those are false statements. And I think she taps into that kind of with the radicalization. And also, I think that there is a fine line between historical roleplay / recreation and fetishization.
That's a really good, that's a good word to describe it
of ideologies.
And not even a fetish, I can't say
fetish
it.
of ideology.
Yes.
Or
not even that, but a willingness to, rather than understand, like it's one thing to understand extremism the same way that it's to understand why a hurricane is a hurricane, you know, like the science behind it, why it forms and stuff like that. It's another thing to want to sick hurricanes onto people and to advocate doing that, just like it's another thing to advocate for.
So, for example,
radical ideologies.
When we play Company of Heroes, I do mass infantry assaults.
Yes.
Only because it harkens to movies like Enemy at the Gates and like this, not romanticized, but this like deified version of World War II where it was like the Russians are just throwing everything they had to stop the Germans. And it's just funny to watch, you know, the AI try to figure out how to stop 800 soldiers from crossing a single bridge.
It does kind of break the game sometimes.
It does break the game sometimes.
Yeah, to a point that it's really not even fun to play anymore. But anyway.
Especially when you go into slideshow mode, where it's like, all right, I get 5 frames every 2 hours. Let's do this.
Yeah. Drawing.
And I say right there is a clear indication of we are just doing it for shits and giggles. It's just within the game, only within the realms of the game.
Sure.
We're not like saying, no, it was the right thing to do to, you know, do these mass infantry assaults and descend penal battalions with no weapons in front of the main infantry force, just be meat shields for the guys with guns.
No, but I think you're getting into a really uncomfortable territory.
Yeah.
Because where you draw that line, I think, is way trickier than a lot of people acknowledge. And I think there are conversations to be had about how we immortalize certain ideologies, not just in historical texts, and by text I mean anything, any work of art, book, movie, video game, but also fictional ones.
Yeah.
You know, the Empire are not good people, you know, but the Stormtrooper has become sort of a pop culture symbol that people dress up as for charity and all kinds of stuff, and they march around Disneyland and they have fun with little kids and whatnot. But the ideology behind something like that is not something you want to parade around Disneyland. And Disney in general has to play this really weird game where they sell and market Star Wars while trying, at least, to make movies about a fascist state that's trying to get a wider grip on a galaxy, right? And I think to a lot of people, they're just the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. But in a lot of other ways, I think it can become sort of strange. One of the curators of the Bovington Tank Museum, so they have a tank at the Bovington Tank Museum, Tiger 131, which was, I forget exactly, but they have a video about it. It's really interesting. And it was like captured in North Africa, and the Allies studied it, whatever. I don't know. The point is, Tiger 131, to many, the curator talks about this in one of their mini documentaries, to many people is a symbol of oppression, of the hateful ideology of Nazi Germany and stuff like that, because that was one of the things it produced, and that's one of the tools it used to try and enforce that. To other people, it's a symbol of, you know, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but to other people, it's a symbol of ingenuity. It's a symbol of engineering, mechanics, and history. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that when we fictionalize history, I do think there is an uncomfortable discussion to be had about immortalizing certain things. And I do think it also helps to acknowledge the historical context of certain things, right? And drawing it all back to this and to what you said initially, like, can you have a game where you role play Roman legionnaires or whatever, you know? I don't know. Where would the line be between, like, you cannot role play this type of person and that be tasteful, as opposed to role playing, I don't know, in a D&D game you can role play evil people or thieves or evil demons or whatever, right? In D&D. And those are all fake things. So, you know,
thieves are very real.
Thieves are very real. Yeah.
Evil people are very real.
Evil people are very real. Yeah. And so that's the tricky thing. You know, if you just reskin an evil person and call them a demon, but they have the same motivations, the same goals, right? Like, how much of a difference is there really, right, behind the ideology and behind you role playing as one of them, right? So anyway, now obviously I do think there is a line somewhere, as you alluded to, because, like, yes, there's a difference between, I think, people playing, you know, post-scriptum, and one side playing as the Germans and one side playing as the Allies, and it's an hour-long match, and then after that everyone goes back to their lives, and no one is of the opinion that, you know, dang, I wish they just would have, you know, done this during World War II. Like, no one is of that opinion. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that I think there is absolutely a discussion there to be had. And I don't think I am equipped or intelligent enough to nail down, like, the finer talking points of it.
Yes.
And I do not blame people for, if they put up defensive shields and say, I don't want to do any of it.
Oh, no,
I don't
that's
think
100%
any of
fine.
it is fine. Like, I don't blame people for that. But I think that would get I can't help but wonder that would put me in like a weird place, because in fictional universes all over the place we have evil and fascism and blah blah blah, and so like what's the like if you give a Nazi officer a different uniform and call him you know, Admiral Piet, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's just a new skin, couple kilobytes of an upload, and you get Admiral Piet, you know.
New skin, who dis?
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. You look like you were going to say something.
No. I said my piece.
Oh, okay, fine. And the other thing, I think I wrote down this example because I think it's another good example. Is like in Elite Dangerous, right?
Yes.
In Elite Dangerous, the universe is set up so people can make pirates. I mean, can form
Pirate bands,
pirate companies and interdict other players and force them to give up cargo. And, you know, that's not Frontier Developments advocating for piracy on the open seas. It's trying to make a universe and a roleplay universe that you interact in and stuff like that. And there are like toxic ways to implement systems in that universe. Not too long ago, we had the crazy like new player kidnap thing that I don't know if you heard about this in Elite Dangerous. Basically, a bunch of experienced players tricked newer players into jumping to certain star systems to join a clan. And then as you know, in Elite Dangerous, the beginning ship can only jump so far. Yeah. So they trick them into jumping somewhere where they won't have enough fuel to jump out of it. New players don't understand that they can, you know, self-destruct their ship or whatever. Also, new players may not care, so they just sort of leave the game. But anyway, so this group took these players, all these new players, funneled them into the star system, and then made them mine for resources. And then gave the resources to the experienced players, and those experienced players would go off and play the game, right? So they turned them into essentially, you know, like free labor, right? And so
you could say the word.
Is that, well, yeah, slaves.
It turned them into a slave market.
But it wasn't, because there was a computer game. In game. Yes. Yeah. Now, I think that is a toxic way to use the game's interactive systems, right?
Yeah.
And I can't really articulate why. I think it's because, you know, you're crossing the line between roleplay and actually forcing somebody into doing something. Yeah. Where there are probably, and that's outside the rules of the game, right? Like, you're doing something that I think requires a form of deception outside the scope of what Frontier Developments actually intends or would want to intend. And I think most reasonable people would agree with that. So to something like this, where they form Roman legionnaires and whatnot, Roblox is just a sandbox where they just throw stuff at you and you can build. Like, I don't think they had a reasonable expectation that, yeah, sure, people are going to do strict social caste systems. Like, I don't think anyone actually, you know, would advocate for that. But does that mean that Rome Total War is, you know, distasteful?
Absolutely not. It's a perfect game.
I don't think so. You would think that. Yeah, so it's a really heavy topic, and there are a lot of ways to, and I myself have seen this sort of thing. Player groups that take things too far, that end up in toxicity, that end up in, I don't know, toxicity really is the best word. Yeah. Squad is big for it. Like, there are people in Squad who really think they are like Delta Force, Special Force, which, if they are in real life,
cool,
whatever, doesn't mean they need to be dicks in a video game. Yeah. You know, it's
Look,
one thing.
All I'm trying to do is drive my Logi truck from the base out to my squad,
exactly,
and just repeat that ad infinitum, and just, you know, smoke and joke the entire time.
Exactly. But there are like, but I've definitely seen it.
Yeah.
Player generated content that made me uncomfortable, things like that I definitely agree with. And the other thing that this story talked about was the line where in 2014 with the Gamergate controversy, right-wing provocateurs, if you go back and watch some old clips from certain podcasts. I won't mention names, not ours. We weren't around in 2014. But anyway, if you go back and listen to some old podcasts with certain guests that have now been revealed as Nazis, it's pretty scary because that's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. It's sort of undeniable now. It's not like a boogeyman in the closet type thing. It was like this guy has certain ideological reasons that he's trying to take advantage of a movement that's amorphous and lacks definition, which Gamergate did. But anyway, so I just think that's really, I think it's, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's an underrated aspect of history there, mm-hmm. because I think a lot of people took advantage of what happened. And now that we're so far removed from that and things that we've learned since then, you can go back and a lot of it is insanely transparent. I'm not going to name names, but a lot of it's really transparent. Okay. Are you, anything else you'd like to mention before we go on?
No.
Oculus is testing ads in games. As announced in a blog post, Oculus will begin testing in-headset / in-game ads, beginning with Blaston, a PvP shooter from Resolution Games, as well as other developers. A Facebook spokesperson told The Verge, the system will use info from your Facebook profile, as well as content you have viewed / installed / activated if you add apps to your cart or wish list, and whether you've viewed, hovered, saved, or clicked on an ad in a third-party app.
Filthy human piece of garbage.
I think that sums it up right there.
Not anyone specifically, but in the blog post, Facebook says, quote, or Oculus, whatever, the both at the same time, I don't know. Quote, our primary focus at Facebook Reality Labs is to bring more people into VR, advance the consumer experience, and make progress on our longer-term augmented reality initiatives. We're also exploring new ways for developers to generate revenue. This is a key part of ensuring we're creating a self-sustaining platform that can support a variety of business models that unlock new types of content and audiences.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
So, do you...
No, just no. Just stop. Don't. I knew it was bad however many years ago it happened when Facebook bought Oculus. I knew it was just going to go downhill from there.
When Facebook does anything, it's bad.
Facebook just needs
Facebook
to
orders Chipotle, like whatever they ordered is bad. You know, I don't know. Like, oh God, sorry. Continue.
No, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't even know how I want to put this, but it's like I said, it's just bad. Facebook just needs to stop. Facebook needs to cease doing anything regarding everything. They just need to cease as a company too.
Sure.
Hovered on. Yeah,
and I'm sure Facebook isn't the only company that does this.
I know.
I'm sure every single company out there has some sort of algorithm that determines that because.
And I know ads in video games aren't new. You have disease-ridden ads in mobile games all over the place.
Disease-ridden.
It's a pox upon both houses. But I don't know. It's just the perfect shit show with it being in VR, because VR is trying to, still trying to find its footing.
In a lot of ways, yeah, absolutely.
And now you're getting customized ads throwing in, and it's from Facebook. It's just...
Yeah, so I hate this.
Oh, absolutely.
For a lot of reasons. I've, in the past, talked about I am open to a lot of different monetization schemes for smaller developers because microtransactions suck. Mm-hmm. And people in industry will say, video game industry is super expensive. We got to figure out a way to make more money. Okay, fine. So in-game ads, I think, I've always, like in Rocket League, I always thought, what if you just slapped Pepsi?
Yeah.
On the side of the stadium? Just or a movie that's coming out, slapped it on the side. Would it be that super intrusive? I don't know, but I have my mind open to that. You know, would that ruin the experience of a Rocket League? Some people may hate that idea, but depending on how much money Psyonix,
That's sports, baby.
how much money Psyonix would work, or I think it's Psyonic, or I don't remember. Anyway, how much money they would generate from that? If that meant fewer microtransactions, more cosmetics and stuff like that, you don't have to pay for. I would be open to seeing the possibilities there, right? Sports games, I think, are a good way where I don't know, like, I don't understand how they don't make a lot more.
Yeah.
You would think they make a ton of money off of advertising, because so many sports venues have, you know, logos and blah, blah, advertisements slapped over the stadium. So you would think that there's probably a reason. They probably do make money off of it, or they don't, and there's probably a reason for that, and that really bothers me because it feels like they should be. Anyway, but this is something that I've... Now, on the other hand, I don't see how you work in advertising to Onward, you know?
Yeah.
I don't... Unless... That would be really weird in a firefight to have a Pepsi billboard. Disappointingly and depressingly realistic, maybe, but...
Hey, but at least you can zero in your sights on it.
But, you know, immersive, would it be immersive? I don't think so. Would it be unintrusive? I don't think so.
Pepsi wouldn't be immersive. Coke, that would be immersive.
Sure. But so things like, so I acknowledge that there's ways where I don't see how it could work. Now, this is different because there's an interactivity with ads where you can click on them and stuff like that. And I just don't trust Facebook or Oculus, because they're the same company, with really the implementation of this kind of stuff. Because it's not coming. Now, they say that I emboldened that part of the paragraph. We're creating a self-sustaining platform that can support a variety of business models and unlock new types of content and audiences. And okay, so they're saying by doing this, we unlock this whole new thing with VR. More types of experiences, more audiences that want to do other things with a VR headset. And that's all great. So I don't know if it's implemented in a non-intrusive way, fine.
Oh, it's going to be intrusive.
But it's going to suck in a lot of ways. I mean, I hate the ads that are on NBA jerseys now. You can't really see them until the player gets a zoom in, but it sucks. I really hate it so much, especially because the NBA doesn't need it. Like, I really don't think the NBA needed another revenue stream like that. Making a ton of money already. And uniform, yeah, but anyway, we'll have to talk about NBA uniform. There's a new uniform every 20 minutes in the NBA, so we'll have to talk about that. But it's something that could really easily be intrusive. And it comes out of a place that is not about... They would say I'm wrong here, but I find it hard to believe that it comes from a place that is purely about making VR better. Now, again, Oculus, with what they said in the blog post, would disagree with me there. And they'd say, look at this line. We're saying specifically that it is. And, you know, I'm just Ron Burgundy. I don't believe you. It's just like, no, I don't believe you. Because it all depends on your definition of making VR a better place.
Well, let's look at
And real quick, sorry, hold your thought. My definition of VR being a better place is wholly focusing on making the best games possible in point and not without intrusive ads. There, go ahead.
So how let's think about how they would go about making ads, not like making the ads, but like having advertising in a VR headset. So if they just have something posted on like in front of you, you can just turn away from it. That's not going to be, you know, like the company that's getting advertised isn't wanting to do that. So it's going to have to be posted to your screen.
Well, I don't want to. No, I think I think that maybe is speculation.
I think it's fair though that it's going to be something that it's going to be very present. Maybe not posted to your screen, but it's going to be there. And we're just in a. I'm drawing this not just from thin air. I'm drawing this from mobile games, how their advertising is done on those. Because it takes you out of the experience for a period of time, and then you can get back into it. And And that's how you'd have to do that in a VR headset. Because otherwise, you could just fuck off and do something else while the ad is going. I mean, you can do that with your phone. You just set it down to go do whatever. But it's going to be similar with the VR headset. They're going to have to make it so that it's visible to you.
So
otherwise,
it's
it's
not, what you're saying isn't crazy.
No.
I wouldn't want to speculate specifically how.
But it's going to be, because like your VR load times on my PC versus VR load times on your PC are wildly different. Yours loads, I mean, it's slow, but it's like quick enough to not notice slow. For mine, it takes a couple minutes. They're going to want to get every cent they can out of that ad time from you. So it's going to be like with mobile ads, where there's a little countdown window. Oh, you have to watch it for 10 seconds before you can exit out of it.
I don't know. I don't want to. I think
that's the only way advertising in headsets would be viable.
Okay, well, we'll just agree to disagree. Because there are advertisements on the PlayStation home screen, and all they are just cards, right? And on the Xbox home screen, the Xbox One, the Xbox One's home screen is like, again, it's like Pablo Picasso made a dashboard, right? And they're not super intrusive. They're annoying, but they're not super intrusive. So there are ways that other companies have done things like that.
Yeah, but this is also Facebook we're talking about.
Sure. So I don't want to speculate about how specifically
the
they
king
do
of
it,
being intrusive and stealing your information,
or if like how they would specifically do it. I think a lot's up in the air at the moment. The ad they have as an example is like a little thing down on like a wall that you can click on, and you can save the link if you're interested, or you can hide the ad for whatever reason, just like if you click an ad on Google or whatever, right? So back to my point. I like, it depends on how you define making VR the best medium it can be, and in my mind, that's the best games possible, and finding revenue streams that don't include intrusive ads. And intrusive, I think, is a fine line, because, you know, to some executive somewhere, intrusive is, you know, we're allowing you to play the game. This is just in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you know. Well, I think intrusive is anything that sort of breaks you out of the system, that breaks you out of your immersion, that feels forced, that doesn't work right, whatever. Anything like that. And yeah, do I trust Facebook to do that well? No. And it makes me sad, because the Quest 2 has been a big success, I think, seems like. And it's because of its price point, and a lot of people are interested in VR, so they're getting into it like this. And that would suck if VR's success is hindered because of, you know, crummy ads being placed here and there. It wouldn't bother me a whole lot if there were ads placed on the Quest 2's home screen, just like there are ads placed on the... Don't get me wrong, I'd rather there not be, but if that, you know, takes the place over ads and games, I'd be completely fine with that. So there's a lot up in the air. I don't like it on face value. And I'm also hoping that a majority, and I think they may have said this and they seem to indicate it, but if this is a must, I really hope a majority of what kind of monetization is made off of it goes back to developers and not to some executive somewhere who no one cares about. Not to be rude, but no one's playing VR because an executive made a decision that everyone thinks is great. People are playing VR because developers have made amazing games, and software and hardware developers too. And maybe that decision was enabled by an executive, sure. But anyway, are we
good to go?
Ready to move on? Okay. Everything E3, Nintendo, Devolver Digital, Xbox, PC Game Show. I watched a little bit here, there. I had a lot of I've got a few trailers here to go through. There was a Breath of the Wild teaser, a lot of other stuff. Stalker 2, Starfield got a release date, November 11th, 2021. So that's 11 years after Skyrim. Shadow Warrior 3 kicked off the Devolver show. That looks really good. Never played a Shadow Warrior, but Shadow Warrior 3 looked like Doom. I don't know if that's how it's always looked. I really do not know. So yeah, we're going to circle back around. I was going to mention the Devolver Digital show. Did you get to watch the Devolver Digital show? So Devolver Digital did another one of their like crazy fourth wall breaking
abstract nihilistic Eric Andre sketch.
Self-referential criticism of the AAA industry show where they did a what was it? They announced a streaming service, Devolver Digital Max Pass Plus, and it's a free service where you can freely purchase any of their games. So it's just a dumb joke.
Yeah.
There was lots of blood and weird, and the whole time throughout the entire thing, they kept eating chili dogs. Like whenever one of the characters in the show was telling you, like there was a commercial for something, and they're like, "Hey, here's an app Devolver Digital's making. You can do all these things with it." Like there's a scene where a guy is talking about this new app, and there's a microwave behind him, and he's taking out hot dogs, and then he puts them on a plate, and this whole time he's talking about an app. And then he gets this huge bucket of chili, just dumps the chili on the hot dogs, and then someone comes by and swipes the chili dogs away. Very strange. So there's this joke about chili dogs.
It's a meta-criticism of the video game industry.
Throughout the entire thing of like, there's always a chili dog somewhere. Someone's always eating the chili dog. I don't know. I like chili dogs, so I wasn't like, disappointed or angry or anything. But it was strange. Devolver Digital is a publisher that I like a lot because I feel like they know their market. They know their style. They have that down really well. It does make me a little uncomfortable though, because you're making fun of an industry, but at what point are you going to stand to benefit from the things that you're making fun of, That bothers me a bit. It bothers, and this happens a lot with E3, when companies make self-referential jokes about the industry, but it's like, but you're part of that industry and you're part of what enables it. So it's an odd joke, right? And sometimes I don't think it's very, I don't know, if you're going to make a joke about something, if you're going to make a parody about something, the Outer Worlds 2 trailer, I thought, was trying to be, it may not have been parody. It may have just been more self-deprecating. But that happens a lot at E3 where there's like, or at least in recent years, and maybe mostly with Devolver Digital, where it's like trying to be a self-referential joke. But again, the problem is you're part of that industry. And if you do something that enables it, then all you're doing is joking about, making really inauthentic jokes or jokes without any, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-realizement, without knowing, self-awareness. Thank you. Yeah. Without any, with a serious lack of self-awareness, for the things that you do. It'd be like Ubisoft making a joke about workplace toxicity or something, right? Like that would be the kind of thing. Sorry, did you have any trailers you saw, things you liked?
No, not really. I tried to catch a few of them, but I really wasn't able to. Stalker 2 looks awesome.
Yeah. That was a trailer that was odd.
I mean, yeah, but I've always been interested in Stalker. And now that it's, a more updated graphically fidelity, a good version of the game, if you would, I might, play it.
Okay. The weird thing about the trailer was there were a couple firefights, and the character's moving really slowly through a building, and you can tell enemies are shooting straight at him, but it's like all the enemies are missing or something.
Plot armor.
So it was just really strange because it was a really staged trailer.
Yeah.
But you could clearly see that there was 3 enemies shooting at the character and this guy wasn't getting hit at all. Just kind of a strange way to stage a trailer, why not have, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, it was just odd. It was just something I noticed. There's a lot of trailers like that where, they're staged. So, the game's not actually going to play like this.
I think it was like middle of the day Tuesday. My Twitter notifications blew up with, oh my god, not another fake Friends online multiplayer trailer.
Oh, for which game?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
But it was like people were not comparing it, but like speaking about it like we talked about the Anthem.
Nice mortar. I'll go over the weekend.
On the weekend. I'll have to look up what game it was, but it was like every like not necessarily a video game like journalist, but like everyone that I follow on Twitter that's involved with video games was like, oh god, not another one of these. I'm like, oh thank god I'm not watching because I'd be hating it right now.
Yes. Rainbow Six had a trailer like that, and Anthem. Going back and watching that Anthem trailer now is just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, what has happened since then? Crazy. Starfield got a trailer. Did you see the Starfield trailer? So it's mostly cinematic. It looks really interesting. Apparently it's going to be single player.
But those games don't sell.
And so, there's not much else we know about it right now. But it releases, 2021 next year. I'm a sucker for science fiction, so
try that again. 2021, what year?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have that wrong then. What the heck? I'm going to look up Starfield's release date. Hold on. It doesn't release this year, does it? Let me Google this real quick. No, November 2022. Okay. Sorry. Got that wrong in my notes.
Do the cha-cha.
So I'm a big, science fiction fan, so Starfield looked really interesting because it's all about exploring space and stuff like that, but we really don't know much else about it. The other thing that I think is strange is how Nintendo has pushed Breath of the Wild. I'm not an expert in Nintendo history.
Well, I think they're pushing Breath of the Wild because Breath of the Wild sold Switches.
That's a good point.
And so this is just the next Breath of the Wild. So like, hey, we got a shit ton of money when we, released Breath of the Wild and kept pushing it. So let's just do that again.
Because we got our first peek at Breath of the Wild. Was it last year or the year before?
I think it was last year.
And it was that weird trailer where it's like, hey, the sequel is now in development. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with like Elder Scrolls 6, where there's a teaser.
Oh, you mean that sweeping landscape shot?
Yeah. And, Elder Scrolls 6, for all I know, could be 2023, 2024, 2026. Who knows? Oh. So it's a really odd thing to announce something that far out. Mm-hmm. And then we got another trailer. And Breath of the Wild, again, is 2022, so it's next year. But it seems, I don't know if Nintendo does this a lot, where they push a game and they get the hype train going for it years in advance. This would be a better Richard question, but I just don't perceive Nintendo as doing that a lot. Metroid, what was it? Metroid 4 or whatever, that got delayed. Been delayed a couple times. That one, I think, was supposed to release. And then it got delayed. And I don't think we've heard about it in a while. So that's sort of different because it wasn't like they were pushing it for years and years up to release it. It was like they pushed it and then it got delayed. And so now we're, sort of in wait and see mode. But anyway, the way that they treated Breath of the Wild 2, I think is sort of strange. The other big takeaway I have is just Starfield is an Xbox exclusive, Xbox console exclusive. So a bunch of Bethesda games are Xbox exclusives. And so Xbox is taking a stand, like, at least when it comes to console stuff. They are trying to fix their console problem, which was exclusivity. Like, they didn't have any games that they could call their own on the Xbox One, and now they do. So how much will that matter will be interesting. And how much are they going to lose to Game Pass is going to be interesting, because if all these games are coming to Game Pass, or a lot of these games are coming to Game Pass, how many people, will just have sort of reaction when they hear, oh, it's $70 now, but you can get on Game Pass. Oh, well, I'll just do Game Pass then, right? So I think that's really going to be interesting to see how the market reacts, which is a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself utter, but I said it about video games, so I don't feel too bad. But those are my big sort of big takeaways. If you can, if you have anything else, please share. We'll end it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything to add.
We'll end it here.
All right.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, so we post videos. Next week, hopefully Richard will be back, so we'll have NDP numbers a week late. But MPD and DP, I don't remember. MPD, I think. Doesn't matter. But we'll have them next week, hopefully. So we'll have that to look forward to. Bye-bye.
Bye.